Welcome back to the Faith and Business Podcast. I am your host, Elle Edwards. I'm founder of the Faith and Business Playground. I'm here with mentoring, accountability, and this podcast to help you embrace your inner weirdo so you can make Jesus CEO of your life and business. And I'm really excited because this episode is the first of a number of episodes that eventually we're going to become the book Weird. Now, this is a book that's been on my heart, and I have started a number of years ago. The essence of this book is that you being weird, you embracing your inner weirdo, being the person God made you to be, is the secret to happiness. It's the secret to more contentment. It's also the ultimate secret to you living slap bang in the middle of God's will. And the reason why this podcast then became a book, I have to give thanks actually to one of my clients who I did some book editing for. There's a book coming out later in the year that's all about, it's the Bible, called The Bible of Repurposing, not the Bible. And when that book eventually becomes available, I will make sure I share that with you, because this book was all about how you can make the content that you put out there, podcasts, blog posts, videos, whatever, how you can make them work harder. And there's a section in this book about how you can write a book. And one of the suggestions was that actually, if you plan it well, your podcast could be the start of a book. Now, of course, I'm not going to be transcribing these episodes and putting them word for word into the book. That would be absolute nonsense. But what we are going to do together over the next few weeks, and my anticipation is it'll be the next 6 weeks for reasons I'll get to in a moment. But over the next 6 weeks, I'm going to be sharing with you one chapter of the book, if you like. The reason why it's 6 weeks is we have five episodes a week, and there are 30 days to this weird experience. I'm going to help you embrace your inner weirdo in 30 days. And I am going to be giving you homework as well. So at the end of each episode, there'll be a little bit of a play thing for you to experiment with. And I would encourage you to play along. And this reminds me, actually, if you're not already in the Faith and Business Playground group over on Facebook, I would encourage you to come and join us. It's my free Facebook community. And I'm going to be sharing these podcast episodes with the members of the group. And then we can chat about these little play things as we go. And potentially, you can actually be a part of this whole book writing process. So I think that's actually to me, that sounds really exciting, because it means then that you get to try stuff out and you can ask questions and, potentially, and we'll see how this plays out. I love the idea of including some of your stories as well. So if you've never been in a book before and you like the idea of maybe being part of a book, then I would definitely encourage you to go and join the playground. The easiest way to do that, if you go to faithandbusinessplayground.com, right there on the homepage, there is a button that you can click that will take you over to the group on Facebook. But that's the easiest way to find it. Depending on how you're listening to this, you can, of course, look at the show notes or send me a DM on Instagram if you're listening to this on IGTV. But in this very first episode, I want to ask the question, why be weird? And explore a little bit around this language. Now, for the longest time, I used to talk about you being you and you being the person that God made you to be. And it wasn't until a fun, weirdo conversation that I had at the school gates where I finally had the language and started talking about you embracing your little weirdo. So what happened? I was at the gate, but my children are all now in big school. But when they were in the primary school, you have to take them and you drop them off at the gates. And it won't surprise you, I imagine, to learn I'm a bit of a chatterbox. And I love people. I love talking to people. Now, this one particular day, there's a lady who, would you believe, I don't actually know her name, and I haven't seen her for a number of years now because my children have now left the primary school. But she had this T-shirt on, and it was a grammar T-shirt, and it had a joke about a semicolon, and it was brilliant. And I commented on her T-shirt, and we both had a little bit of a giggle about it. And this throwaway comment about how fun it is to embrace your little weirdos, to embrace your quirks and your eccentricities. And it was like, that's it. That was like it gave me the language all of a sudden. And from that point forward, and I did see her afterwards and thank her and told her that how helpful she'd been in that process. But this idea that actually you being you, and being the person that God made you to be. It is about embracing those quirks, those eccentricities, those little inner weirdos. And so finally, as a result of my friend being her lovely weirdo self, I had this language that I could use to make it feel more concrete. Now, by way of introduction, I would encourage you to think about it and ask the question, why is it so important? Why is it important to me? Why have I made it the central part of what I put out there in the world to encourage you and inspire you and equip you to embrace your inner weirdo, to have you be youier, to have you be the person that God made you to be. Why is that so important? And ultimately, it comes down to you being made in the image of God. Now, yes, of course, we are all made up of the same basic DNA building blocks. We all have the same number of chromosomes, mostly, unless we have an extra one, and then that makes us a bit different. But generally speaking, everybody has the same number of chromosomes, and there's relatively a limited number. I think it's like millions and millions, but even so, there's only a certain number of ways that these different chromosomes and the DNA can be lined up. So on paper, you could map out what somebody is, and they would be all, relatively similar. You could probably, I've obviously never done this, but you could probably if you could survey the entire world and get a picture of their DNA, you'd have duplicates. Obviously, you'd have twins as well. But it's said that all of us has a doppelganger, somebody who looks just like us somewhere else on the world. But that isn't what makes you you. You are more than the sum of those parts. You are part of the stories that you've lived, the experiences that you've had, those things that get you excited, those urges, those niggles, all of that stuff. I believe that God made you to be the person that you are. And there is a unique footprint on this planet that is yours. It's got your name on it. And yes, if you don't do and be the person that God made you to be, okay, somebody else might be and do those things, but the world would be a lesser place as a result. And you will live a lesser life as a result. And so my real mission with everything that I do is to encourage you to explore what it means to be you. And we will be looking at this, over the coming weeks as well, and to start being that person. So whether you need a permission slip to embrace your inner weirdo, if you already know who you are, but you just know that you're not quite shining your light bright enough, consider this your permission slip to go all in, to be fully self-expressed and let all those inner weirdos out to play. Equally, if you're not really sure what that looks like yet, take heart, be encouraged, because we are going to explore this together. And to be honest, there isn't like a right or wrong answer in this. And it's not as if God's going to send you a text message and tell you who you are. You will become and discover who you are by being, by showing up, by trying stuff out, by living. That's the real joy of this, is that we become more of the people that we're made to be by living. And personally, I think that takes the pressure off, because if you can just show up and give it a go and be, rather than having to think, oh no, what all the pressure, just be, and trust, that God knows who you are. And that's the other part to this as well. This is the Faith and Business podcast. So we're not doing this on our own. All of this stuff, I would encourage you, ask God, literally ask him. He's interested in every single part of your life. So if you're not sure, ask him to show you, ask him for help. And then by way of your homework, your plaything, I have a few little questions I want you to explore, and I will put these in the show notes as well. So I want you to think about, if you've listened to this episode and you've gone, yes, I want to continue this exploration. What is it about this idea of being weird that inspires you or gets you excited? And also, what are you hoping to get from our time together? I've already told you this is going to be a 30 episode extravaganza, 6 weeks of content. What would you like to get from the next 6 weeks? And when I call you a weirdo, how do you feel? Does that give you a reaction? Does it make you feel a bit like, ugh? What reaction do you get at a gut level? And finally, when life gets in the way, because it will, life happens, when you miss an episode, what are you going to do about it? Now, I should say the kindest and most loving answer is pick it up and carry on the next day. This is not about playing catch up. If you miss a few episodes along the way, it doesn't matter. But plan ahead for that. And like I say, I will put those questions in the show notes with this episode. And I really would love it if you'd come over to the Faith and Business Playground on Facebook, and we can look at this together and talk about this together. The reminder for that, you can go to facebook.com/groups/youier Christian entrepreneur, or more easily, go to faithandbusinessplayground.com. I'll be back tomorrow. Take care. Bye-bye.